Hello class. In week 2, we go through the process of creating some statistics, and in your assignment, you are going to be doing that with StatCrunch as well as doing it manually. So I'm going to walk through the process of doing it manually. Here, I'm going to be using a table to work down to getting the standard deviation and some other statistics, but you can do this any way you want. If you want to go into Excel and do it, or just do it on a piece of paper, you can snap a photo of that and incorporate that into your homework, however you want to do it. And I'm going to go through some other statistics that we learned about this week. Before I do that, I do want to point out that some symbols that we use are consistent regardless of what formula we are using. So whenever you see N in statistics, that is referring to the sample size. So in this example, also X is always referring to our actual data. So here we have 3, 4, 9, 6, and 3. This is representing some sample of data. And because we have 5 values, that is N. So in this example, N is going to be equal to 5. To calculate the median, which is one of the central tendency stats that we can come up with, we need to find the middle value. But first, we have to put our data in order to determine that. So I'm going to put our data in order, 3, 3, 4, 6, 9. We have 5 values, so the third value is the value that's right in the middle. That gives us 2 on the left and 2 on the right. So in this example, 4 is the median. It's the number that sits right in the middle of that data set. The range in any data set is just your maximum value minus your minimum value. So our maximum value is 9, and we're going to subtract 3 from that, and that gives us a range of 6. And our mean is we take the sum of the values and we divide by n. So we know what n is. N is a 5. And the sum of our values, I'll come over here and use a calculator. We've got 3 plus 4 plus 9 plus 6 plus 3. And the sum of our values is 25. So that means to calculate our mean, we just go 25 divided by n, which is 5, and that equals 5. So that's our mean. So that is just some stats that we can calculate manually. Now, this is the process to come up with your standard deviation manually. First, we subtract the mean. This is the symbol mu. We subtract that from the mean for each of our, we subtract the mean from our data value for each data. So here we have 3 minus 5. That gives us a negative 2. And here we have 4 minus 5, and that gives us a negative 1. And I'm not going to retype that for every one of them. 9 minus 5 is 4, is 4. 6 minus 5 is 1. And 3 minus 5 again is negative 2. When we subtract the mean from our data value, and then if we were to add up this column, it should be equal to 0. If it doesn't equal 0, then we know we've done something wrong. So let's go ahead and add up this column. So I think I can do that over here. Let me clear this out. We have a negative 2 plus a negative 1 plus 4 plus 1 plus, that's a negative 2. Negative 2, and that equals 0. So I just verified that I did this correctly. So the sum of this column is 0. And the next thing you have to do when you want to calculate the standard deviation manually is you have to square the x minus the mean. So negative 2 squared is a 4. Negative 1 squared is 1. 4 squared is 16. 1 squared is 1, and negative 2 squared is 4. The next step is to do the sum of the squares, meaning we just add up this column. So again, we have 4. Let me clear this off. 4 plus 1 plus 16 plus 1. Oh, that's just a 4 on the end, sorry. And that gives me a 26. That is my sum of the squares. A step to get to the standard deviation is to divide that by n minus 1 for a sample. If this were a population, we would just divide by n, but we are talking about a sample, so n minus 1, which would be a 4. I just want to make sure this is right. 24, yep, 26. So here we're going to go to 26 divided by 4, and I'll type that in over here. 26 divided by 4, that gives me a 6.5. That is my variance. To come up with my standard deviation, you simply take the square root of that. So here's my 6.5. I'm going to take the square root of it, and I get 2.549 or 2.55, and that is my standard deviation. So that's how we go through the process to calculate that manually. Now let's do the same thing over in StatCrunch. So this was a data set that you'll be using this week, but you can type in anything anywhere in here. So I am just going to, this is my data, Sue Stevens data. I'm going to put a column heading here, and I'm going to type in those numbers. So I've got 3, 4, 9, 6, and 3. That's my data set. And now I want to use StatCrunch to calculate these values for me that I just did manually. So I'm going to say stat, summary stats. I'm talking about a column here. And this is my data right here, SS data. That's the name I gave it. It's up here. And we are going to compute that data. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to select compute. And as you can see, we came up with a mean of 5. We have a mean of 5. Variance is 6.5. We have a variance of 6.5. Standard deviation 2.549, which is the same thing as 2.55. We have a range of 6 that we came up with, and we have a median of 4 that we came up with. So obviously it's much easier to go into StatCrunch or any number of tools that are out there to calculate your statistics. But we are, in this case, doing it manually and verifying our data and our results. So I hope that helps. And as always, contact me if you have any questions or concerns.